Now, who can forget the drama last summer when the FBI searched former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, looking for classified documents that had been taken there from the White House? It turns out that President Biden's lawyers found a small number of classified documents in his former office at a Washington think tank last fall. The documents are from Mr. Biden's time as vice president. Former President Trump is under investigation by a special counsel for failing to return sensitive documents. And House Republican Jim Jordan says President Biden is being treated differently to his predecessor.
You know, they knew about this a week before the election. So, 91 days before the election, President Trump's home gets raided. It is round-the-clock news coverage. Everyone's there. The FBI raided his home just 91 days before the election. But this information they knew about, the White House knew about before the election, maybe the American people should have had a right to know about it as well. I think the American people, the takeaway they're going to have is the double standard that always exists. It's one set of rules for President Trump. He literally raided his home 91 days before the midterm election. Different standard, it seems, with President Biden.
Well, joining us now to unpick all of this is Joe Moreno, former US federal prosecutor. And Joe, is lawmaker Jim Jordan right there that there's one rule for former President Trump and another one for former President Biden? These documents were apparently found last fall ahead of the midterm elections, but we only find out now because of a CBS News story.
Laura, there's a lot we don't know about this story, right? So, and the timing gap is a little strange about why it took a few months. But based on what we know, the Biden case seems like it was a small number of documents. They were found, they were turned in, and the Biden team is being cooperative, right? And they will say that stands very different to the Trump situation, where you had hundreds of classified documents, and even after efforts and months of the government asking for them back, the Trump team lied about them and said, you have them, and then they had more, and it took an FBI raid to get them back. So the cases appear very different. But that being said, it's very difficult to ignore one while you pursue the other. And a lot of people in this country are going to say, look, you have two cases of powerful people mishandling classified documents. Maybe one was worse than the other. We don't know all the facts. But how do you treat one a certain way and not the other? So the decision by the special counsel in the case of Donald Trump, whether to charge him regarding the mishandling of documents at Mar-a-Lago, just got a lot more difficult because of this Biden story.
But what does the U.S. Justice Department do about President Biden and these classified documents apparently from when he was vice president?
Well, you look at the circumstances, you look at what happened here, you look at perhaps who left them there, right? It looks like they were taken to this think tank. You don't know by whom. You don't know if it was sloppiness. You don't know if it was purposeful. You don't know when they were discovered. Was it just a few months ago, or was it years ago and someone knew about it and just left them there, right? Which makes it a little worse. So there's a lot of factors here. But look, the mishandling of classified documents, while never good, is usually overlooked, right? In terms of sloppiness, mishandling, don't do it again, as long as, something egregious hadn't happened. So I expect under ordinary times, this Biden story would be a one-day story. In the news, out of the news, okay, it's been rectified, no big deal. But because of the Donald Trump situation, I think now, again, that makes it much more difficult. It was already a difficult decision, and I think they're grappling with that. But what to do about Donald Trump just became a lot harder because now Joe Biden's hands aren't entirely clean.
And this decision about whether to prosecute former President Donald Trump will come down to this special counsel who's investigating all of Mr. Trump's legal woes.
That's right. And I think that the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case almost seems a little more cut and dry because, either the law was broken or it wasn't, right? The documents shouldn't have been there, and they were. Versus the January 6th case, right, where you have questions about whether or not Donald Trump can be linked to the violence, right? Did he obstruct Congress? Was he directly involved, or was he sort of a bit player? So both difficult decisions, right? Not easy choices to make as to whether to charge, by the way, for the first time, a former president. No president has ever been charged with anything in this country. So I don't envy that special counsel one bit.
Spoken like a true lawyer. Joe Moreno, thank you so much for being with us, as always.